Welcome back to In the Zone. I'm your host, Aaron Chun. With a champion crowned in the World Baseball Classic, the NBA season winding down, controversy in the NFL, and much more, we have a lot to talk about. In the Zone starts now. Joining me on desk this week are Billy Cullen and Gehrig Milbrandt. The 6th ever World Baseball Classic has just wrapped up, with Venezuela and the United States sending their best players to duke it out in Miami's Lone Depot Park. In the end, Venezuela pulled off a 3-2 victory against the United States, the first victory for a South American team in the WBC's history. Venezuela received an early lead, with the Red Sox outfielder Ville Abreu hitting a solo home run. But in the bottom of the 8th inning, the Phillies' first baseman, Bryce Harper, hit a huge 2-run home run for Team USA that led to a climactic 9th inning where Eugenio Suarez wowed the crowd with an RBI double that served to be the winning run. Venezuela was able to prevent Team USA from scoring again, leading to them winning the gold and Michael Garcia winning MVP of the tournament. Billy, what are your thoughts on Venezuela's win?
Well, first I want to say Venezuela is the absolute deserved champion. They went through a tough road, not only beating the United States in the championship, they had to go through Italy, who felt like they were beating everybody and shocking everybody, coming back in games, and they beat Japan to then get into the Final Four. Their entire way outside of the pool play was incredible, and they were just a fun team to watch, and again, they deserve a champ. But when it comes to the United States, they had 3 hits in the championship game, and 2 were from Harper, where Harper, throughout the entirety of the tournament, struggled. And, I mean, you had Schwarber go 0 for, Judge go 0 for, Wicht went 0 for. He had the walk that led to the 2-run home run. But just the level of offense from the United States after pool play, just every single game just went down big. Like, what shocked me the most is in every game in the pool play and against even Canada, even though they struggled, they at least scored 5 or more runs in every game. And then in the semifinals against the Dominican Republic and then against Venezuela, they scored a grand total of 4. Like, the offense just didn't show up for them. They didn't really hit the ball well. They weren't even getting good contact, to be honest with you. And I know people are going to be giving a lot of criticism to Nolan McLean because he was the pitcher. He gave up the 2 runs early, but he did go 4 2/3. I thought he played pretty well, understanding the circumstance. And obviously, the other game that the United States lost, he was the starter, where he kind of got lit up against Italy. But at the end of the day, if you're again going to bat 100 from a team that is full of not just some of the best, they are the best players in baseball and some of the best at their positions, and they don't show up to hit, you can't really fault the pitching staff. And at the end of the day, again, Venezuela was the deserved champ.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you looked at this team from the beginning, the lineup was the first thing you highlighted. You had both of the MVP runner-ups, or both of the MVP 1-2, Cal Raleigh and Aaron Judge there. You had the NL's runner-up, Kyle Schwarber there. You had so many other players who were bona fide stars who just really the whole tournament after, again, like the first few games of pool play, just didn't really see that much out of them. Gary, what do you think?
Now, Billy, just a consummate professional on the desk, pretty much touched on everything I was going to touch on, but the 2 players I was most worried about going into this game, Bryce Harper and Nolan McLean, were the 2 best players in the United States. McLean gave up that first hit to Acuna. I thought, oh, wow, it's going to be 10 runs here. And he blocked it in. For a guy who's only pitched 8 games in the bigs, coming in like that against a lineup like that, in a position like that, he did very, very admirably. And he did well enough for that star-studded USA lineup to give him just something. And they just couldn't. There was definitely a maturity difference between Venezuela's pitcher and the United States pitcher. He's pitched, I think, 10 years in the bigs on Venezuela's side, but you can't just get over that. He 2 years in Arizona, but he's not the best pitcher in the World Baseball Classic right now. And just Judge goes over, you said. Wicht goes over. Just the entire offense just into fairy dust, right, where lights get hot. And me being a Yankees fan, I know Aaron Judge's struggles in those big games like that. This is really, really not going to help that kind of thing he's been put into. He just can't perform in the big games. And it really hurts me because he is the best hitter in baseball right now. I'm not biased in that, No. And he's just not showing up when he needs to. It really breaks your heart.
I was going to say, I feel like that narrative was kind of changing after this last postseason, even though they lost early to Toronto, but like he was incredible in that series.
In the divisional round against Toronto. Right out the foul pole.
And he was great against Boston in the wild card. Like he was hitting the ball well, and then it was like, okay, maybe there's a turn of the tide. But then he comes in the World Baseball Classic, and I don't remember really any notable moments from Aaron Judge.
Even so far in the WBC, he hit 2-3 home runs. He was batting very, very well. He was the American captain, and in the final, where you need him the most, where you need everybody the most, they all just kind of disappeared. It's very frustrating. Third straight final for the Americans, second straight 2-3 loss. That's tough.
It really feels like I'm watching the Phillies again. Like I'm trapped in this endless cycle of underperformance.
Exactly
Yep.
This installment of the WBC was yet another memorable one. From the return of the Czech electrician Andres Satoria, Team Italy's surprising run to the semifinals, the upsets of the heavily favored Dominican Republic and Japan teams, and Ozzie Albies hitting the first walk-off home run in tournament history, there were a lot of memorable moments. Gehrig, what were your favorite moments of the tournament, and how does it live up to the past iterations of the WBC?
There was a whole lot to choose from, Aaron. I'll never get the people who kind of slander the WBC. It's some of the best baseball you get out there. Nationalism and baseball combined together, it's beautiful. That Ozzie Albies walk-off home run, one of the worst calls I've ever seen on a walk-off home run. That one in there. I don't know if you heard that one.
He just didn't really know that was happening.
And then immediately afterwards in Puerto Rico, a walk-off home run the same night. But my favorite team in this tournament was definitely Italy. The story for them getting through, just mangling everybody. They weren't winning close. They took everybody out behind the woodshed in Houston, went to Miami, beat a tough Puerto Rico team, and Venezuela, the champions. They took them to the distance there. This Italy team, and Francisco Cervelli, a great story with him. He's driving around Italy in a van trying to recruit baseball talent. So this is a big stepping stone into getting Italian baseball into a higher echelon of competitiveness.
And it was about the Team Italy team was like, how many of those guys were actually from Italy?
Two.
That's what's incredible. It was like, just honestly, what I took away was just the atmosphere of it. Like, it's so much different than and granted, I do think that October baseball is the best version of baseball. I love watching playoff baseball. But that was being able to, especially like Venezuela, every play, every hit felt like it was like a walk-off World Series win. Everything, just the magnitude of the game, even from the first inning to the end, was just different. And what I will say that was a little bit different than I feel like past World Baseball Classics is how much the pool play was competitive compared to the rest of the tournament. Like the rest of the tournament, granted you had some competitive games, I'm not going to say that there wasn't. But there were some of the pool play games, like the United States, I think everyone thought they were just going to steamroll the pool play and get right past everybody. And they were down 8-0 to Italy. They were struggling against Mexico. The fact of the matter is, I think baseball from an international standpoint, not like the big names, like obviously the United States, Japan, who's won, now Venezuela, the Dominican Republic, it has now become a little bit bigger, especially with teams like Italy. Mexico, I think, surprised people, even though they didn't get in, but it was really impressive to watch with how they were playing. And I'm excited now for the next World Baseball Classic. I know it's a few years down the line, but that is something that just, like you said, bringing in not only the sport of baseball, but combining the cultures of all the different countries in. Because, you got Asia, you got South America. It's just, obviously North America, just a bunch of different cultures going around. I think it was really cool to watch.
Yeah. And I'd say the funniest thing, too, being a Yankees fan, I get this a lot. Just Jazz Chisholm cannot stop embarrassing himself. I love the guy. But you play for Great Britain, you're not going to go out there and shock the world. He goes, 2 for 15 in the tournament. They get bounced. They lose every game. Jazz, just stop talking, man. You're good, but you're not that good. You're not winning MVP. You're not getting $30 million. Just be good.
But going back there, though, talk about some of the other countries, you saw how much it meant to a lot of those players. Even Team Venezuela, right at the end, it was Daniel Palencia closing it out for them. You saw right before he threw the last pitch of the game, there were already tears in his eyes. That was such a cool moment to see how much all of that means to all those guys. But Team Italy, again, we talked about them, not a very big sport in Italy. Like we mentioned, there were only 2 guys from Italy who actually played for that team. But now you got to the point where after that team played, you got a number of different, I think, like politicians over there, big people in Italy talking about the tournament, it starts to spread baseball a little bit more. And then, like, even stories like Andres Satoria, the Czech electrician, you know, he was a favorite in 2023 after striking out Shohei Ohtani, and then he goes and does it again. I think 4 2/3 scoreless becomes yet again another favorite story. He retires for good, and I mean, everyone's cheering him on. Japan's cheering him on. We also saw, I think, Japan, it was either for Venezuela or the Dominican Republic, cheering them on after they had already been eliminated by them. So I think it was really cool to see also how some of those cultures came together and were rallying behind each other. Let's stay in the world of baseball here. The long slog of spring training is nearly over, and the MLB season kicks off next Wednesday when the Yankees make the cross-country trip to face their former New York foes in the Giants. With the prospect of a lockout in 2027 looking more real, fans will have to savor this season as much as possible, and there's much to look forward to. The Phillies will try to keep their 4-year playoff streak going. The Yankees are getting more shortstop depth in case it's time to have Anthony Volpe sleep with the fishes, and everyone around the league is trying to find some way to beat the Dodgers in the playoffs. Billy, what are you most excited for in this upcoming season?
I think there's a lot of things. Obviously, I think, will the Dodgers win it again? I mean, at this point, it feels like an inevitability because of how loaded they are. But at the same time, it's like, Toronto did take them to the brink. That went to extra innings in Game 7. The Phillies, even though that was a 3-1 series, in every game the Dodgers won, it felt like the Phillies really had the game in their hands and they found a way to lose. And like just some of the other better teams, like we think the Mets are going to be better with some of the moves that they make. I'm not thinking that, but there's a lot of people that believe that. But there's just, and maybe San Diego, they can get back there. They've given the Dodgers a lot of trouble over the years. But the team that I'm really looking forward to this year to see what are they going to do throughout the year is honestly the Detroit Tigers. Because the Tigers have been, like the last 2 years, they were the 6th seed in 2024. They then beat the Astros, and everybody was like shocked that was, you could beat the Astros. They made the ALCS like 7 straight years, and they go out there and beat them. They go to the next round. They play a tough Cleveland team. They lose in 5 games. The following year, they're what, the 1 or 2 seed? They were or maybe 3. They won the division in the Central. They start going, and they then lose in the second round to Seattle. I am intrigued because coming into this year, a lot of people thought Tariq Skubal was gone because they didn't know if they really wanted to pay them. So I am interested to see with them. If they get off to a mediocre start, maybe even a bad start, is that move on the table at the deadline? I think that might be something we see. Or maybe if they are going to be in full go, is there something that they maybe get aggressive? Because we really haven't seen them getting aggressive at the deadline that much, even though the team has been incredibly successful over the last 2 years. And with that being said, I'm excited to see one of the all-time great Justin Verlander going back to where he started. And we'll see. Maybe they could be able to pull off a World Series. I think they got the team to do it.
I thought that was really cool seeing Verlander go back. Gehrig, who are you looking forward to this year?
Just to touch on Verlander quick, I love how he's only allowed to pitch for orange teams.
That is
like
something.
Tigers, Mets.
Tigers, Mets, Astros,
Giants.
Giants, just orange teams. I don't know what it is with him. And you guys go to the Baltimore too. If you got there at time, he's got to get all the orange ones. But what I'm excited for is my team's division, the AL East. It's going to look stacked this year. Toronto just went to the World Series last year. Yankees went to the World Series the year before. Boston's looking to retool. They got a great team. Orioles had a bad year last year. Very, very surprising. That core still has not won a playoff game yet. That's shocking to me. But they still have a very, very good roster on their hands. And the Rays just pull off their devil magic while paying the guys like Nichols. They still get at least 80 wins a season. So that's every one of those AL East games is going to be like a boxing match in a phone booth. I love being in. I love watching that division. I don't so much love being in that division.
Yes.
And for the team I'm most excited for, the San Francisco Giants. Now, they had that 107-win crazy season a couple of years ago, but it's been 500, 500, 500, 500 every year since then. They got a new manager in, they got kind of a new culture in, they got some good players coming in, like Harrison Bader coming in there. And it's just, you need someone else in the NL West who's going to challenge the Dodgers consistently. The Diamondbacks were kind of there when they make their World Series run, but they really fell off. I mean, interdivisional competitiveness there, like just no one's beating the Dodgers. The Padres, they give them a game here and there, but just no one can really shape up to them over the course of 162. So we need a team out west who's going to give them a couple losses and hopefully give them a loss in the wild card divisional round. And I think if the Giants can put it together, they can get a core, they can get a new organizational culture in there with Buster Posey being like the president of baseball operations. He knows the team, loves the team in San Francisco. We need a good contender in there on the Giants.
I think what makes Dodgers frustrating is the last 2 years they've won the World Series. The last 2 years you could point to some point in the postseason where it looked like they were going to go down. I think they were down 2-1 against the Padres, came back. Every game against the Phillies could have won, but they just keep inventing new ways to lose games.
Yeah, like that last one. You've never seen anybody lose like that.
That was
actually invented
brutal.
that one. Yeah.
And I mean, I got to give props to Ryan Kerkering. I'll talk about the Phillies in a second, but I got to give props to him because he stood up about it. You know, it was like he owned up to it, and that is very tough for someone who I think is 24, 25 years old to have that big of a spotlight on him. You think about Craig Kimbrell in 2023. At least he was a veteran, you know. Yeah. He's gone through so much stuff over the course of his career. That was Kerkering's second full season in the big league, so that is very difficult.
Yeah.
One team that I think I'm interested in, I don't think they're going to be in the postseason this year, but you're starting to see something with the White Sox now, finally.
Okay.
Munetaka Murakami, I know he's only down in contract for 2 years, but that'll give people a good enough reason to watch that team. If he establishes himself the first year, maybe he sticks around and becomes part of a playoff team next year, because I think by next year they could make it. Maybe he goes and signs that big contract we all thought he was going to. But then Kyle Teal looked pretty solid in his first stint in the majors. Edgar Caro, another guy who looked pretty solid. They have two really good left-handed pitching prospects in Noah Schultz and Hagen Smith. Colson Montgomery was great again. They just drafted, I think his name is Billy Carlson, who I think could be up this year, at least in the next couple years. He's another talented-looking player. I think they're going to at least be worth paying attention to again. Now, the Phillies, this is a big year for them. We have a number of notable prospects who Andrew Painter, Justin Crawford will probably almost certainly start the year with them. Aiden Miller, even though he's slowed by the back injury, should probably be up at some point this year as long as it's nothing serious. Gage Wood, we drafted him last year. He should probably be up at some point this year, I think, as long as he proves that he can be durable enough through the year. But one of the big reasons that the Phillies flamed out in that 2007-2011 run, injuries to their star players, them getting older, but just the fact that their prospects never really stuck through. I mean, there's so many guys I can think of. Dominic Brown, Felipe Almonte, Sebastian Valle, those are guys that we thought, okay, they're going to be part of the next big team. Nothing. So part of the reason that the Dodgers have competed every year is because they've been able to develop those guys. And maybe they trade some of them, but they at least develop them and can turn them into something. This, I think, is the biggest test for the Phillies. If these prospects can develop the way that they planned. And if some of these younger guys who will be up in the next couple years, you know, Dante Nori, who had a great stint with Team Italy, if some of these younger guys can also start developing throughout the year too, maybe their window's a little bit bigger than we thought. Now, let's send it over to Miles Shenk for the latest in Marauder Athletics. Miles?
Thank you, Aaron. It's been an exciting week on the diamond for Marauder Athletics. As we return from spring break, our baseball and softball teams are already bringing the heat as we enter the later part of the semester. We'll start off with the softball team's impressive sweeping of Chestnut Hill in a doubleheader in a non-conference game. In Game 1, the Marauders rolled a 12-4 win behind an amazing offensive performance by Allison Black. She provided an early spark with a 3-run home run, while Cameron White and Celia Macbeth each delivered clutch hits during a big fourth inning that put the game out of reach. Jocelyn Langer sealed the win with a 2 RBI single in the 5th as Millersville ended it early. Delaney Troxell earned the win while White led the way with 3 hits. The Marauders kept it going in Game 2, shutting out the Griffins 8-0. Rebecca Opperman dominated, tossing a one-hit shutout with 6 strikeouts for her first collegiate victory. At the plate again, Emily Slotkovich and Allison Black both went yard, while Langer added 3 hits in another complete team effort. Shifting over to baseball, the Marauders are on fire entering the weekend after completing a 4-game sweep of Pitt Johnstown and extending their winning streak to 11 games. In Sunday's doubleheader, Millersville showed a dominant performance on the mound. Matt Chamonix set the tone in Game 1, throwing 6 scoreless innings while allowing just 3 hits in a 5-2 win. The offense provided early support, scoring in each of the first 3 innings, while Hunter Stevens added a safety squeeze to highlight the day. In Game 2, Reese Ritchie matched that effort with 5 shutout innings in a tight pitching duel that ended in a 3-0 victory. The Marauders broke through the 6th with aggressive base running as Donis Rodriguez and Matthew Williams both scored on infield plays to give the Ville the edge. Now, all eyes are on Cooper Park, where a major PSAC East showdown is set. Millersville, winners of 11 straight and ranked number 24 in the nation, will host East Stroudsburg in a battle between the top 2 teams in the preseason poll. The Marauders enter at 15-4 on the season, riding one of the longest active winning streaks in the country, while East Stroudsburg comes in as the defending NCAA Atlantic Regional champions. This matchup features 2 of the strongest pitching staffs in the conference, with Millersville holding the opponents to just over 2 runs per game during their streak, while the Warriors have also put together multiple shutout performances this season. The first pitch is set for Friday at 1 p.m. Both teams look to make an early statement in what is expected to be a highly competitive PSAC East race. Now I'll take it back to the desk to talk about the NBA. Aaron?
Thanks, Miles. With less than a month left in the NBA regular season, the playoff race is heating up across both conferences. The Oklahoma City Thunder have already taken a wide lead and sit atop the Western Conference after continuing their winning streak, while several teams continue to compete for spots behind them. In the East, the Detroit Pistons currently hold the number 1 seed, but the middle of the conference is still crowded as teams fight to avoid the play-in tournament. Elsewhere, the Los Angeles Lakers are heating up at the right time, riding a long win streak that has strengthened their grip on a top 3 seed in the West, while the San Antonio Spurs have a chance to take a playoff spot with another victory this week. Billy, as we get closer to the playoffs, who do you see making plays to take a top spot in the league?
So I'm going to start off with the West because I feel like the West is a lot more self-explanatory. Obviously, the Oklahoma City Thunder are probably going to be the 1 seed. They look like the best team in the NBA. They're the defending champions for a reason. They are just loaded everywhere. Their bench can probably win 45 to 50 games. They're just that good.
Yeah.
I would also say there's 3 teams in the West I think that can actually at least make the championship. I think them. I would say San Antonio. They're just. I mean, Victor Wembanyama might be the best player in the NBA already. He is unbelievable to watch. He's already one of, if not the best defensive player in the NBA. And how do you? I mean, and he can hit the 3 ball very well. How do you stop that guy?
Yeah.
It's near impossible. And then the other team that I would argue, just because of pedigree, is the Denver Nuggets. When you got Nikola Jokic, I mean, last year they played the Oklahoma City Thunder. I believe that went 7 games. That was the only time that the Thunder really had any trouble going until winning the finals eventually. I know they had a tough series with Indiana, but then when Halliburton got hurt, it was a little tough for them. But I would just say that those are the 3 teams. I think the Lakers, I love the win streak they have. I just think that anybody can score on them if they really wanted to. And Houston has probably been the most disappointing team in the league, at least in the West, because of you were a number 2 seed. Şengün was unbelievable. They have I forget the other kid's name, the other wing who's really good. I think Amin Thompson. He's unbelievable. And then you bring in Kevin Durant thinking, okay, now we got a number 1 legit scorer. And it just really hasn't meshed that well, and they haven't been nearly as good as people thought they were going to be. In the East, it's a little bit weirder because you can't really trust Detroit. They haven't won a playoff series yet with that core. They're so young. But with that said, everyone kind of thought the same thing with Oklahoma City last year. But I just think that with the East, with how it is, like the Knicks this year have no reason not to be in the finals. If there's any year for them to go, I think this is the year. Because of the fact that the East, let's be honest, is significantly weaker than the West, like it's been honestly over the last 10 years.
Right.
When you look at it, the Celtics are another team. It's like, well, now they got Jason Tatum back, and probably by playoff time, he's going to be a full go. They are, I believe, the 2 seed in the East currently. They've just been unbelievable. And then really after that in the East, it's kind of like, do you like Toronto, but you don't really trust Toronto? The Sixers kind of get in their own way. Is Embiid going to be healthy? Like, everybody loves Edgecombe, and obviously Maxi's been unbelievable, but do you really trust them? I don't think any play-in team in the East is really going to make a lot of noise.
Right.
even though I know Bam Adebayo can drop 83, I guess, but you have to foul him 50 times. But regardless of the fact, I just think the East, kind of similar to the West, where there's kind of really only 3 teams, I think, in each conference. But in the East, it's like, I feel like in the West, it's pretty definitive. Like, there's more likely you're going to take Oklahoma City compared to in the East. It could be up for grabs for those top 3 teams.
Right. Gehrig, what are you thinking?
Now, I'll put my full, I'll be honest with you guys. I'm a very casual basketball fan. I'm a Knicks fan. I think it's funny. But it's like, I want to talk about the NBA as an organization more than what's going on right now.
Sure.
They're talking about expansion to Seattle and Las Vegas.
Yes.
Now, I think it's a fun idea bringing the Sonics back into a Vegas team. But as for basketball as a sport, I think it's one of the worst things you can do. Because there's already kind of just 3 tiers of teams now. Like how Billy said, those 6 teams kind of at the top, those contention teams, and that kind of nameless rabble in the middle who are going to go into a play-in tournament like the Heat, the Bulls. Every year they're in the play-in tournament, I think, like that. And then 10 just putrid nuclear waste tanking from all 82 games right at the bottom. And you want to add 2 more bad teams? That's just, I can't imagine what. I mean, I know exactly why they want to do that. Jersey sales, ticket sales, money. That's why they do everything. But it's going to just dilute the already very diluted talent in the NBA even further. And I think it's really going to push casual fans like myself even further away from the NBA.
Yeah, and I mean, that's been an issue. I feel like we've talked about on the desk before about some of the issues the NBA has had. When you think of parity in sports, football's been, I feel like it's getting a little more diverse. Baseball's very diverse, especially with the added playoff spots. You got so many surprise teams every year, like 2 or 3 that either make a good run or surprise their way into the playoffs. Basketball's the one sport where it really doesn't feel like it has any of that surprise. No. At least it doesn't lead itself to as much surprise, except for Bam Adebayo scoring 83 points.
Pretty much it.
But, yeah, in terms of teams, it's just the reason I think, like you mentioned, again, in the West, the 3 teams that have a very strong chance to make the finals and how it's a lot later on the East, I think, like Gehrig's been saying, it's just kind of a showcase of that lack of parity, which I think that could be a whole other topic again some other time, but I think that's definitely a good point.
Yeah.
Well, the NFL offseason has started with a bang. The tampering period started on March 9th, and the new league year began on March 11th. During that time, Raiders defensive end Max Crosby was traded to the Ravens, and after he failed his physical, he was then sent back to the Raiders. The Kansas City Chiefs landed Super Bowl MVP Kenneth Walker to help fix their lack of run game, but the big news this week is that starting wide receiver Jalen Waddle was traded to the Denver Broncos in exchange for a 1st and 3rd round pick to the Miami Dolphins. The Broncos get the best receiver on the market to this point to improve their passing game. Meanwhile, the Dolphins look to rebuild as they move on from another high-caliber player. Billy, what does this trade tell you about the future of both the Broncos and Dolphins?
Well, obviously for Denver, this is a short-term fix because right now they have, last year offensively, they kind of were lackluster throwing the football. Honestly, as an offense as a whole, even though they won 14 games, how many of those games were them in a tight game against the Raiders or the Giants and them having to come back, or just like a low-scoring game? Because let's be real, they had one of the 3 best defenses in the NFL last year. Cortland Sutton, I think, is a very good receiver. I think he is a wide receiver 1. But when you get Jalen Waddle, who is a completely different style of receiver, who could burn off the edge, kind of really maximizes what you could do on the field and spreading your offense. I think this was an incredible move for Denver because right now they probably have the best wide receiver in the division because that is a very weak wide receiver division in the AFC West. When you think about it for Denver as well, last year I do think, or going into this year now too, again, you went 14 games. You were pretty much a field goal away from going to the Super Bowl, and you did that with a backup quarterback. Imagine what you could do with an improved offense with Bo Nix back at the helm. I think for Miami, this is also another great move. I think Miami needed to do this. Miami right now coming up this year will have $175 million in dead cap space when the cap room is about $300 million. So more than half of their money, it's guys they're paying who are no longer on the team. They are doing what people would call a soft tank. They're not obviously doing it, but they're doing it. Again, everybody kind of sees that. It's now Malik Willis's team with a depleted, talented roster. But Miami needed to do this, especially after you fire your GM, you fire a head coach. You kind of want to start fresh. getting rid of the bad Tua contract, getting rid of Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, Minkah Fitzpatrick. Last year, you got rid of Ramsey. I think this helped out both teams and really set up Miami for a long-term future.
Gehrig, what are you thinking?
And some of those Bush League things I've ever seen is what the Ravens did with Max Crosby.
Yeah.
They make him fly commercial across the whole country and make him drive 2.5 hours and then just tell him to get out. Like after that. And I feel like there should be more punishments against the Ravens for what they did. Multiple trades are made with the knowledge that Max Crosby was going to be a Baltimore Raven.
Yes.
Colts were out on Trey Hendrickson. I mean, they tried to go a little more on Trey Hendrickson, but then Ravens kind of swap that, pull the rug out from everybody, send Crosby back to the Raiders. Raiders make a lot of free agency pickups. They have a lot of money tied up there. They had the thought that, hey, we're not paying Max Crosby. That's a lot of money off our table. Let's go get these guys. And now Max Crosby's right back there. And they are just in cap hell right now.
Yeah.
Because they made all those moves with the assumption that Max Crosby was no longer a Las Vegas Raider. And I feel like Baltimore it's not technically illegal, but it's very,
It
very,
feels like it should
yeah,
be.
it's very unethical, but not illegal.
What makes it bad, too, is the fact that the Ravens, to what Max Crosby talked about and said that they really didn't communicate with him. They just kept telling him, hey, like, we're going to have a second opinion doctor, all this stuff. They're not like, they don't really know about the knee. It was more questions, and then they just said, yeah, you're going back. They just talked to the agent and said you're back to the Ravens.
I think it's only fair to ask the question, what would Zach Humphreys do?
That is true.
Cron.
Now it's time. Yeah. Now it's time to go out of bounds. This week we're staying out of bounds and staying with our baseball theme for this episode. Let's take a look at Canball. Canball is similar to baseball, except the ball is a beer can. Home plate is a 3D open box that functions as the strike zone, and if the can goes into zone, it's an automatic strikeout. There's a few more differences, but you're smart, so you'll catch on. Let's take a look.
Hanger off the back of the box. Here we are at the Green Cathedral, the Elysian Fields, for the first game of the Can World Series.
I talked to him a little while ago, actually.
Kansas City has opted to swing first, thinking that Can progression will be on their side.
And World Series.
Stepping up to the plate, here comes Genghis Khan.
Here's the pitch. Light pop out to the infield, easily caught by JFC.
Full count for Ken Griffey Jr.
And he watches it, good eye.
Trotter goes in, but it's unnecessary.
Here's Citizen Can at the bottom of the order. And it's a box out off the front lip.
Voyeuristically looking up the skirt of an innocent lady Ken. Here's the next pitch. You can see the twirl on that one. Made it a little difficult for the frontiersman to catch, but he tracked it and made an easy grab.
Billy, where do you see yourself being the best at in Canball?
I think I would be an incredible pitcher. I'll be honest with you. I'm all about trick shots. I think with the can, it would be really fun to be able to, because you're usually throwing a ball, doing like whatever it is. I think with a can, it would be a little bit more of a challenge, but I could see myself throwing some absolutely disgusting pitches down the middle and just confusing the pitcher at all times.
So, do you see yourself, because I was thinking this, do you see yourself being the first knuckleball pitcher in Canball
I believe
history?
so. I think I could throw some absolutely disgusting changeups and getting a lot of swing and miss throughout.
Gehrig, what are you thinking?
Yeah, the kind of underhanded top of the can knuckler move, that is dangerous. If you can find that, and one guy, little later on in the clip, he threw a slider or two. It was actual slider movement. But I want to be the guy who kind of stands off to the side and kicks it every once in a while. I'm not sure what his deal is. He just comes in, randomly throws the foot. I don't know.
Is that like their equivalent of a catcher, I guess?
I think.
Or an anti-catcher?
I'm not really
It
sure.
might be trying to save throw it in the
yeah.
can.
Maybe the guy's trying to hit you. Just come in, just kick him in the jaw. Mess it up.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's fine. What are you going to do?
more
This is
sports than
Canball.
that.
This is anarchy.
So, I'll start by saying, drink responsibly. If you are under the age of 21, do
Can't
not
play that
drink.
game.
Of course.
Can't play that game.
Can't do it.
Can't even be the can kicker. That being said, as someone who is over the age of 21, I think the way that I could really contribute is by providing the cans.
Yeah.
I think that's where most of my
You're a
value.
slugger?
Yeah, that's where most of my value would come in, I think.
Respect that.
Well, that'll do for this episode of In the Zone. For Billy Cullen, Gehrig Milbrandt, Miles Shenk, and the entire In the Zone crew, I'm your host, Aaron Chun. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you right here next time on In the Zone.